All right, so good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to our demo derby. We have had a challenge in trying to get this off the ground, and we're trying it with Zoom, and we'll see how it works. We may have to use Zoom for our annual meeting and some other things coming up. So thanks for being with us and giving this a try. Does everyone know how to use the chat box? In the bottom of the screen, there's a little icon and the word chat. If you have questions during the presentation, you can type a question in there. But if everybody could click on that right now, can you all find that and click on that? And then down at the bottom of the chat box, it says to, and then your choices are everyone, Karen, Mary Ellen. Just click on Mary Ellen. And then if you have questions during the presentation, Mary Ellen will take the questions and she'll hold on to them and then she'll ask them as we take breaks. Okay, yeah, and if you want to try typing in a question or just say hello in there, you can do that.
All right. Why is mine stuck for some reason? Oh, never mind. It's okay.
All right, so Rita and Sally, in the chat box, can you see where it says to? And so you've said hi to everyone. Can you change the everyone to Mary Ellen?
Yep, I already have.
Okay, good. All right. It's a little less distracting if we can do that. And then Karen will stop to answer questions periodically. And we have 3 door prizes today. So thank you for coming. We'll announce our winners at the end of that. And I will, without further ado, I will introduce you to Karen.
Okay, I'm going to mute everybody now except for Karen and Kathy.
Okay. Not because we don't like you, but just so it helps the recording be clear for everybody to listen to. All right, so Karen applied a Bachelor of Science degree in textile engineering from Philadelphia University to tire cord development at Firestone Tire and Rubber and pack pumping braids and welding curtains at Garlock Industries. Then at Xerox Corporation, she worked on various textile components for copiers and printers. She retired after a 25-year career. Karen dabbled in sewing as a teenager and throughout her married life, starting with Singer sewing lessons in the 1970s, discovering stretch and sew in the early 1980s, and creating costumes for her daughter every Halloween. After retirement, Karen is devoting more time and energy toward apparel sewing. 1.5 years ago, she joined the Rochester chapter of the American Sewing Guild. She is a proud member of the Great Garment Group and the Webster Neighborhood Group. Karen is impressed by the depth of knowledge and patient support given to her as a new member. Thank you, Karen, for being with us today and sharing your knowledge with us.
You're welcome. Okay, I gotta find, why is it that when we practice, everything's good? And you can still see me, right? Oh, will there be resources? Zoom. I feel like I'm out of Zoom here.
So if you go to view and click on speaker view, that'll make you full screen.
Here I am. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay. Share my screen. Share. Okay, now everybody can see this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. First of all, thank you, everybody. I appreciate your support in helping to get this done and then making sure we can get it out there. So here we are, fiber identification using household tools and chemicals. This was an interesting project for me. I was impressed with the articles from Threads, and I'd like to say a special thank you to Threads magazine. The information cited is based on these two articles, and they're on the resources page of the Rochester ASG chapter site. Fabric Selection Secrets and Fabric Lovers Always Carry a Flame. So very helpful, and I think they're just great. Alrighty, so why would you identify fiber? Why do you care, right? Well, we get lots of fabrics and yarns from lots of places. Great Garments group, we had a swap, we have charities, donations, people give us stuff, and some things come to mind when you get it. Did I get what I want, what I thought I was getting, as far as fiber or fabric is concerned? What's the content? And because then I got to figure out, I need those things, need to know those things to figure out how to clean and care for the fabric. And then if you want to dye it, what dyes can I use? So the kinds of tests we're going to look at here is a visual test. I'm sure everybody uses their eyes and their fingers all the time touching fabric. I don't think we can stop that. And there's a burn test, which is an overall kind of umbrella test, and solution tests that use bleach to test for proteins, use acetone to test for acetate, and use fiber etch to test for cellulosic fiber. So in this presentation, we're just going to cover these common fibers: the silk and wool, which are protein, synthetic, acrylic, nylon, polyester, cellulose, cotton, linen, and then man-made from cellulose is rayon and acetate. Okay, now here's where the fun starts. This is the proposed order that I would suggest, and it worked well for me. The first thing is just figuring out what it looks like, and I'm giving you different ideas about the swatch size. There, come on over here, maybe. The swatch size and what to do with the swatch, and whether it's destructive or non-destructive, so it gives you an idea of how much fiber or fabric you might need. And one tip that absolutely you need to get fiber and fabrics that are already identified and become comfortable with how to do the tests, what are the chemicals, what order do I need to do this, these tests with, and how the data collection works. And in addition, the speed of each test, because burning is very fast. Okay, so we're on slide 5. Are there any questions? Mary Ellen?
None right now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, so one other thing I wanted to say here is, you'll see I put down for bleach, actually a weight. So I used my kitchen scale for that. Okay, so now I'm going to go through each test and tell you the pros and cons and a little bit of what the materials that are needed to perform the test, as well as show you some pictures of it. So for the visual, it's gather your characteristics and also make a swatch book. So what I have is I have a few pages of my swatches with double stick tape, just with the numbers on them, and in a notebook, so I know which ones are which. And also, when you see the data sheet, you'll see that I'm writing down the characteristics, color, and that kinds of things. So that when I go back and we look at the data, or when I'm looking at it trying to make conclusions, I can quickly figure out what it is. All right, the cons are that it's subjective, and the pros are you have a really good starting point and some information about the fiber and the fabric. Okay, touch. This was an interesting one. In the Threads magazine article, they talk about fiber is cool or warm to the touch. And they say that warm is protein and synthetic fibers and cool is cellulose fibers. The only way that I could do this, because it's still a subjective test, was to have a swatch of cotton and a swatch of polyester and wool as standards. So I would take my test fabric and then my standards, touch my standards and touch the test fabric, and I could do it. Otherwise, you're like, how long do I wait? Does it warm up in my hand? Does it cool down my skin? That kind of thing. So it actually, for me, using standards, I was able to do this touch test. Okay, the burn test. This is the most widely used, most information gathering test that you can do. It allows you to categorize the fiber content as self-extinguishing, not self-extinguishing, and doesn't burn. It also allows you then to categorize the fiber content using the chart. So you can see the chart up here. I don't know if anybody went out to look at the reprints. Okay. You'll need to do that because in order to do this test, you need this article here. Okay, and what it does, it allows you, the tester, to form an informed guess of the content. So it may not be absolutely perfect, especially when you're working with, say, a rayon and a cotton. There are subtle differences, but in my findings, I was having a little bit hard time between the two. And you'll see that's in the cons. And then also when you go to wool or another hair of some sort, it's hard to differentiate them. Okay, so I'm going to show you, this is what one of our burn tests, and it shows you the procedure. So let me see, I might have to go and share it. Hold on. For this one, I think you're going to have to turn up your volume. Okay. Let me go back out, I guess. Where's my share? Oh, man.
Karen, it was visible when you did that.
Oh, it was?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Because I remember last time I had to share it. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Out of the flame into the holder, and it continues to burn. Incredible, incredible burn. Yellow, orange flame, and it's taken off like crazy. Is that sputtering, you think? Or is it just burning like crazy?
I'm going to speed this up a bit so you can see it just burned and burned and burned.
Residue starting to come up on the right-hand side. It smells. But it really had to get smoky and start still burning. It has a liquid residue.
It's all kind of charred and icky.
Okay.
All right. See about
Kind of bummed.
back. Okay. So now can you see the slides okay?
Yes, I believe so.
Can you see the slides okay?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. So that was the acrylic knitting yarn. Just so you know, if you knit acrylic pieces, that's how this piece, I bought it at Joann's. It's just regular old knitting yarn. Does anybody have questions about that? Okay. I'm going to
No
keep
questions.
going.
No questions right now.
Okay, thank you. All right, now this was fun, and it took a while. This is straight bleach from just, our laundry room. And we're looking for protein fiber content. So I'm showing you the silk. This was silk organza, just a little piece. And then what it looked like and how many grams it was after 3.5 hours. And this was wool that I knew of. It's a tight twill. And then here's what the residual is after about 4 hours. So as you can see, we started out with the fiber. I cut it up in just a few pieces. And for the wool, I cut that up in a few pieces. And you'd be surprised how much 2 grams and 4 grams really is. I did this outside and just stirred it every once in a while, and you can see how gelatinous this is getting, and this one as well. We're moving along. And then what I did is I took vinyl screening and had a glass bowl underneath and poured these out of the Pyrex cups through the screen, and then took the hose out back and rinsed them out. I'm sure that the wool would have dissolved had I given it more time. All right, the pros, it dissolves protein fibers. And now what would be interesting, I did not do this, but you can identify protein fibers blended with synthetic or cellulose. So I tried a little bit later when, as you'll see, I had a sample that was given to me and I was told that it was a wool blend. And I wasn't sure what it was blended with. It turned out to be all protein though. Okay, cons. You can't figure out between the protein fibers without doing something else. In my experience, I would say that you need to get a microscope or a really high power lens of some sort to look at what the fibers look like very closely. Also, I think all of us know that when you bleach your jeans, you get holes in them. And just telling everybody what you already know, chlorine bleach can hurt you. So just follow the manufacturer's information on that. Does anybody have any questions about this type of test? Or do you think you'd even do it? Okay. I'll assume to keep going then. All right, acetate. This fiber can be dissolved in acetone. And so the cautions are if you're using nail polish, some nail polish removers are very high in acetone. So you could dissolve part of your fabric. If you're wearing a blouse that has acetone or you have lining that has acetone in a garment, you could have a hole. So it does dissolve acetate fibers, and I can show you the video link if you like, but this is a picture of what it looked like at the end. So I took two acetate, what I thought were acetate fabrics. And this acetate was fabric made by Olga Cassini. I had it a long time ago, and it just dissolved like crazy after 42 minutes. I mean, it was quick. I bought some triacetate thinking that that it would dissolve. And to my surprise, there was no reaction. So I looked it up because I'm thinking triacetate has acetate in it. Why is that? And I'm not a textile chemist, but I'll read to you what it is in case you're interested. It has to do with the percentage of cellulose hydroxyl connections. So acetate is 75% to 92%, but triacetate is 92% or more. And it turns out that it's soluble in chloroform and insoluble in acetate. So first of all, I don't have any chloroform and I don't want to try it anyway. So it was very, very quick. Again, I did this outside. Acetone is flammable, so we keep it with our other flammable stuff in the outside the house. And like I said, I did it outside, and it's not something to mess around with near flames. Okay. All right. This was really fun. And I have some extra fiber etch if anybody wants to play. This is the way to identify cellulosic fiber content. And I did 2 samples because, well, first of all, it removes cellulosic fibers from synthetic or protein blends with synthetic or protein fibers. So the synthetic's going to stay intact and the protein's going to stay intact. And then it also gives you the residual fiber is available for follow-on testing. And you'll see in the data sheet that I did do that. So the kinds of things that you need is a detergent to get all the gum and such gums and oils from your hands and finishes off the fabric. And then you use the fiber etch to attack the cellulose. So here we go. I'm washing the detergent just in a stainless steel pot on the stove, and I have my instant read thermometer, and it looks like I got up to, what does it say it has to be above? They would like, I'm just reading off the bottle, they would like it to the water to be 140 degrees F or higher, and I think I'm at like 152 to do the pre-wash. So I just cooked it for a while and moved it around, tried, it foamed a little bit, and then I rinsed it with water in another stainless steel bowl. Used some push pins, thumbtacks to a piece of foam core, and I applied the fiber etch to the foam core with just you'll see a little brush over here, right there. And then you have to dry it, and you'll see something that I have a YouTube link that will tell you how to do this. The woman was very, very helpful in figuring out how to apply the fiber etch, how to press it out. So I had two samples, pink and red, and you can see I pressed the pink, and any place where I put the fiber etch in, you see it turned brownish. It just flaked off. On the red, it was polyester cotton jersey, and when I used my iron to press it, it flaked off the cotton. And then you're supposed to rinse it. I just rinsed it in regular water, and that takes the rest of the remainder. Okay, any questions about that, about the test? Okay. All right. I know this is an eye chart, but what I did is, as you can see, this is the data sheet that I used. Gave my samples numbers, and then just wrote down the description and wrote down what my what my starting guess was. And I chose to keep it to proteins, synthetic, or cellulose, rather than say, oh, I know it's polyester or whatever, because I don't. And then I did the touch test with my samples like we went through and put the data in here. And then wrote down what I saw when the sample approaches the flame. So if you remember the video, some of them shrink away, some melt, some catch fire, some just poof, they're gone. So you need to be thinking about what is it when it approaches the flame, what happens when it's in the flame. So some of them melt, some sizzle, some never melt. Whoops, I'm sorry. And when it's removed from the flame, what happens? Does the flame just go out? Does it extinguish over time? Or just does it keep on burning? And the odors, some of the odors are okay, and burning hair is an odor I really hate, and it smells really bad. To me, burning wool smelled very bad. And I also added in, this was a gray woven twill. And I got it at the sale from earlier this year. And I was told it was a wool blend. And I can't distinguish what it is, but it is, to my mind, it's burning hair. It has a very, very strong smell, and it has an irregular black ash. So I'm putting it with self-extinguishing. Anything over here, wow, sorry. Anything over here is self-extinguishing. Anything that is not self-extinguishing, and we didn't do anything that doesn't burn, like asbestos or glass fiber. So now I'm writing down what my informed guess is. And for a lot of these tests, I stopped. I said, okay, I think I know how to, I think I can figure out how to care for it. I think I can figure out what kind of fiber it is, and at least the category. And I think I know what to do with it if I were to go to Mary Ellen and say, how do you think this could be dyed, kind of thing. But if you want to learn more, you can. So what I did is I selected the red jersey knit and the pink jersey knit to figure out, are they blends or what? Because when you look at the samples, of the red jersey knit, the first one, it caught fire, it continued to burn, and it kept burning and curled. but it didn't smell right, and it had a black bead with some feathers, and you can crush it. So if you look at cotton, it has this really feathered black or gray ash, and getting a black bead made me think maybe there's some synthetic in it. So you'll see that later, because I did do some solution tests on things. So now, if you have a question about the fabric, like I did for this gray woven, I said, you know what? I might try to do this and do the bleach test and see if I can get a residual out of it that might be something else other than a hair. And I decided to do the jersey knits. So now, do you have any questions about this data sheet? I don't know how comfortable or even if you would use it, but this worked for me. There is a blank, yes?
We have one question.
Okay.
How did you learn how to do all of these tests?
Okay. Well, in college we did them, but the Threads article and that demo link, I mean, the demo link is ours, but the Threads article is pretty straightforward. They tell you what tools you need in it, like you need a small tin, or we used aluminum foil boats, and you need a fire source, and you need some tweezers. So if you want to do it, it's pretty straightforward for that. So that was the burn test. Did they want to know how to do the other ones also?
Kathy, did that answer your question? You're muted, Kathy.
Yes, that answered my question.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you.
All right, let's go on now to solution tests. Okie doke. This was interesting. I mean, you saw the results, you've seen the results already from the pictures, but it was truly interesting. And the things that came out to me were, first of all, my kitchen scale, it isn't sensitive enough to tell me if I wanted to get a percentage of one fiber versus the other. I would have to have much bigger sample size. So with the silk organza, 2 grams is almost 10 by 10 inches. And I'm thinking that's a lot to try and figure out if it's a blend. I didn't have any residual, everything was dissolved. But I started with 2 and nothing there. Now with the yellow peach twill fabric, I needed a 6.5 by 4.5. Again, that's a pretty big sample. And the reason I'm telling you about the scale is my scale weighs down to 1 gram. So I did have some left over, but it turned out to be this really hard kind of crusty fabric, because you saw from the photos. So I can't tell you if this is really something else other than I know that it's 100% wool. The sample I got here from one of the sales we had earlier this year, again, I did 4 grams. I didn't even figure out the dimensions. I didn't care at this point. And again, I just didn't give it enough time, but I did give it 6 hours and 10 minutes. So if you want to do this, you might have to have really big samples if you wanted to figure out the percentage for some reason. All right, you saw that I did the acetate. and that the triacetate did not dissolve, and there was a reason. And then you saw the pictures of the red jersey knit and the pink. And what I was able to do is take, let me see if I can. Mary Ellen, can people see me if I hold something up?
Yes, if they have the view.
Okay. I'd like you to take a look at this fabric, if you can tell. Let me know if you can see it, if it should go up or down.
That looks good.
Okay. So in the middle, it's very sheer. So the outside is cotton polyester, and this inside is the polyester. And I took a sample of that, cut out as much of a 1x1 sample as I could, and burned it. And it turned out to be polyester from the burn test. So I thought that was quite interesting. All right, does anybody have any questions about this?
We had one question come in, said, is it possible that the awful smell from the wool could have been from an outside source, like moldy or mildewy basement? Or do you think it's just the fiber itself?
I know how the fabric was cared for. I don't know if there was a finish on it, but it smelled like, when it burned, it smelled like this, like really overwhelming, awful smell. And it smelled like old camp firewood to us. Nobody was burning anything around us at the time. Does that answer the question? It's a good one, though.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll move on. Okay, so now, here's a time where we could say, I've heard enough, and I don't want to go through the test procedures, but I do have the test procedures written here. So we're coming up on an hour. Do you want to continue, or would you prefer to stop right now and ask people to read this later on? Kathy?
Does anybody have any druthers one way or the other? We have a continue, so go ahead.
Okay, thank you. All right. The burn test, I give you a list of materials needed. You can see it's a tin of some sort, a fire source. All right, this is a big deal. Please do not use matches. The sulfur smell will overwhelm the odors that you get from the burn test. So use just one of those like Bic lighters. You could tell that we used a propane torch because we just wanted it on the table outside and didn't want it to be something we had to hold, because it's hard to do the lighter and hold the fiber in the tweezers. So all the PPE you need, a well-ventilated area, did everything outside, the data sheet, and then definitely read the article. It's only a couple pages. You saw the link, and you do need the ability to put out the flame if something happens. So what we did is we had a whole table covered in aluminum foil, and then I had a cookie tray with aluminum foil on it, and then we made little boats. So tried to be extra careful with that. Playing with fire is fun, but okay. Now, to identify the protein fiber content for bleach, when you're playing with bleach, you just got to know and respect it, and we've all used it. So use a deep container, and if you need to cover it, cover it. What I did, you saw the Pyrex cups. I took I put the bleach in there and then the sample so I could see through it. And then I took a glass, 100% glass, and put it on top, not to seal it, but just to keep the fumes from coming up in my face. All right, again, the test procedure data source. The kitchen scale, I don't know, sometimes maybe you'd have something better to weigh it with or take larger sample. The PPE, wear clothes with sleeves if you can. Well-ventilated area, stainless steel sieve. I don't know if you have stainless steel sieves at home, but I do. I cook with them. I use them to just strain things. And use a bleach resistant screen. What I used was vinyl coated screening, you know, that we make the market bags with. That worked out well. And here's the article. And I have to tell you, this page that's shown here has the solution tests on it. The rest of the article gives some good information about fabrics and how they work and drape. So there you go with that. And what you need, I think we've gone over this already. Yep, you gotta collect a lot of stuff. It's like doing a lab test in school. Okay, to find acetate fiber, you need a source of acetone. I went to a paint store. And you need glass or metal container with a cover. And acetone absolutely evaporates quickly. I mean, it is just super quick, and you could see that the reaction was very quick. I mean, 42 minutes to figure the whole thing out. That was something. I do find safety glasses are quite useful, and nitrile gloves. You can just buy them in the store. They're good too. And I think we went over this test. The only thing I will say, air dry the residual fiber. I just had it in a Pyrex baking dish, and that's where I saw the residual. I thought it was pretty cool. It might take a day, but didn't take it for me. It was very quick. So are there any questions about the bleach or the acetone procedure? Okay. And fiber etch. This was a lot of fun. I did buy some things. Of course, you need the samples, the data sheet. And I bought the textile detergent from Dharma Trading. There's also Synthropol, I think. And they both do what I wanted it to do. I wanted it to get, like I said, the dirt, the oils, the gums, the finishes off of the fabric or fiber before I tested them. You needed your PPE, and I would say in this case an apron's kind of cool. And let's see, you need a heat source. Everybody should have a stove. You must have a sink, well ventilated. And then applying the materials, fiber etch. So again, this was, that was there. Where is, here we go. Okay. So the steps, those were the supplies and the steps to do to wash it. But here is a YouTube recording that's 7 minutes and 49 seconds long. I'll go through it quickly, but the woman, I think her name is Kimberly Irwin, so you'll see. And tell me if you can't see this, please. So can you hear it, Mary Ellen?
Yes, if people are having trouble, you can turn up your own speaker.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Try it again. The volume is low, I think.
Okay.
Okay, people might have to turn up their own speakers if they want to hear it.
This is a special chemical that dissolves cellulose fibers in fabric. You'll also need fabric. Now you have to have a fabric that is either a mixture of cellulose and synthetic, or you can use something that is 100% cellulose, like a cotton, for a totally different effect. So the three fabrics I have here, the top one is a cotton spandex blend. The center is a 100% cotton fabric. And then the one on the bottom is a cotton lycra blend. You'll also need something to apply the fiber etch with. So you can use a variety of tools. There are paintbrushes. You can buy a stamp at a local craft store. You can make your own stamp out of a speedball carving pad. You can also create a stencil using a blue stencil film, or you can use a screen, as you see here. You'll also need a couple things just to protect yourself when using fiber etch, because it is toxic. So you'll want to wear an apron to protect your clothing. You'll also want to wear plastic gloves to protect your hands and skin, and a dust mask. And that is because when we're ironing the fiber etch, because the heat activates the chemical, it does release some fumes. So just to be on the safe side, I always recommend wearing a dust mask.
Okay, I'm gonna move forward a little bit.
Just start with the fiber etch. The first thing I want to do is make sure I've got my gloves on so my hands are protected. So the first thing I want to do is just take my push pins and secure the fabric to the foam core board.
Okay, I'm gonna move forward on this.
You want to make sure that it's relatively thick. When you're applying it, you want to make sure that the fabric is saturated with the chemical. So I've got my hair dryer out. I'm going to just speed up this drying process. So now that all of the fiber etch is dried, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove it from the foam core.
Okay, we're gonna go to pressing now.
I want to sandwich it between these two pieces of fabric and start ironing. You're going to want to check this pretty frequently. Once the areas where the fiber etch was placed start to turn sort of a caramel color, you know you're on the right track. Now it's just going to be a little deceiving because we had that little issue with the paintbrush, but you'll see what I mean once we get going. So you can sort of start to stretch this fabric. You'll see that some of that, it's very hot still. Some of this will just start to crumble right off.
Okay, I'm
So we've
gonna
got a little bit more.
advance it.
No big deal, we'll just take that back to the iron. Just a second. I do want to remove any of the parts that are this darker brown, just because I don't want to overdo it and burn through the fabric. So wherever I can, I'm going to try and remove the fibers. Okay, so I'm going to bring this back to the ironing board. I'm going to focus on the areas that did not come off yet. So right about here.
Okay, I'm going to end this.
Your knits.
There you go. Okay. Oh, where is it now? All right, can you see the slides?
Yep. Can I just ask
Okay.
a quick question?
Sure.
Okay, so the fiber etch turned it that caramely color and brown, and it looked like she scrubbed most of it with her fingers. I'm assuming it turned crusty or something.
It does. It gets very hard and brittle.
And then do you wash it out to make sure that there's nothing else left?
Yes, that was the only thing in her demonstration that she did not do. However, fiber etch asks you to rinse the sample with cool water.
Okay.
And it does come right off. You know, it's like it's disintegrated. And then just air dry your samples.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, we're at the end. This presentation does help you figure out what fibers or fiber family. You get you can form an informed guess of what the fiber content is, but it does not substitute for knowing whether you can wash it or maybe how hot the iron could be. You still need to do those types of tests on your own. So thank you. I will stop sharing. Oh, I know what I wanted to tell you. Does everybody know how to get out to the website? Because, come on. If you need some of the information out on the website, so you can see the data sheet of both solution and burn, the blank data sheet, and the 2 articles that are identified. Okay, I'm done. So if you have any questions, let me know.
Thanks, Karen. Janet, I just saw a comment from you that you will use this information to help identify fabrics that you have picked up at So Green. So
Yes.
you'll have to report back to us and let us know what you discovered.
Well, especially the thing that concerns me and with the flammability of some of those things, if you're making things for little people,
Yes.
you know, you want to be careful. And I got really scared when I saw that yarn burning because I use acrylic yarn all the time, you know. So I know there's the guidelines for children's sleepwear, but if you pick up a buy, you should probably try to figure out what it is.
Yes, yes. Very good point. Yeah.
And Janet, just take if you have like a way to make a fire source, you know, like a fire lighter for your grill or whatever, you could use that and make sure you have some tweezers and just roll up some of the yarn and see what happens and put it on aluminum foil. That's all I did.
Right, right.
Okay.
So who was your helper? Because when you kept saying we did this, was that your
Oh.
husband?
Oh, no, I got my daughter. She's a
Okay, well, thank her as well.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Mary Ellen, would you like to tell us who our door prize winners are today?
Okay, so we have 3 door prizes, and let's see. All right. So Lori D'Angelo was the first participant to log in. So you win a little notebook. It says American Sewing Guild.
Oh, how nice.
If everybody wants to unmute themselves at this point, you can. And then we'll do that. Let's see. And this one out of the bag. Mary, you were the last one to come in. And so you win a little zipper pouch handmade by Kathy Healy, our illustrious president. So it's a little see-through zipper pouch. All right, I'll have to write these down so that we make sure they go to the right people.
Thank you.
And let's see. And Janet Mayer, you were kind of in the middle. So you win a little, I forget what this is called.
Mini wallet.
Yep.
Cool, thank
Little
you.
wallet. So we'll make sure that everybody gets their prizes.
This is very, very informative. I really enjoyed this.
I think it was
I
great.
like the sciencey stuff.
Yeah.
Good. All right. So next week we will have 2 speakers. We'll have Nancy Jones, and she'll be talking about my favorite tools. And my husband Rich will be talking about photographing your sewing projects. And he will show you how to do that so that we can have lots of great photos of our projects for our website and also for the newsletter.
Perfect.
And we will send an email invite by next Wednesday for you to join the meeting next Saturday morning, and we'll start again at 9:30. Okay.
We might also want to put on the website what the password is.
Yes,
Um,
okay.
I'm wondering if that's why a lot of people didn't get in and they didn't know who to contact, possibly.
Okay, yep, I will take care of that. And then as Karen mentioned, you can go on the website and see all of the reference materials she used today. And then we will put also Nancy's notions that she'll be talking about and her tools for next week and some information from Rich as well. Okay, so let your folks in your neighborhood groups know, and hopefully we'll see you again next week. Thank you for being brave to try this with us. And
Thank you, and thank
Karen.
Karen.
okay,
Thank you.
and we are recording this and we will put it on our website. Hopefully we'll get it up in the next week or so. So anyone who was not able to join us will be able to watch it at their convenience.
Great,
Okay,
great.
all right. Have a great
Thank
day.
you. You
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.
Yep.
Bye.
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 Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.